Wally is one of my favorite movies of all time. I was only 4 years old when it came out, but I can still remember the first time I saw it. I was on a summer camp field trip to the movie theater. I had no idea what we were seeing, had no expectations, and while I was too young to really understand the film's messages, it was still an incredible experience. I got super attached to Wally the character. I didn't understand the depression or the loneliness, but I did get that he was a funny little robot man. I was obsessed. I had Wally books, stuffed animals, probably underwear, everything, including Wally for the PC, my first video game. Unless you count Dora's Animal Adventure, but I don't want to. I got this game on my 5th birthday and I fell in love with it, despite never getting that far in it. Because for a 5-year-old kid, this game was really damn hard and scary. But now as a 20-year-old gamer man, does this game hold up? Can it beat the nostalgia allegations? Or is it just another shitty licensed game from the mid-2000s? This is an in-depth review of the Wally game that no one cares about. The game actually looks pretty good running at a lower resolution on the PS2, but playing in 4K on PC, the game kinda shows its age. The environment can be polygonal, you're not supposed to look at the skyboxes. Some levels look pretty good, a lot of the earth and hallways on the Axiom feel straight out of the movie, but some areas just feel weird. NPCs all look rough, but Wally looks great. He has a noticeably better model and textures than pretty much everything in the game, but there's something just a little off about him. He looks dead, and I think it's in his eyes. Without the reflection, he just kinda looks soulless. And it doesn't help that his animations in the cutscenes are kind of jank. In-game, I think his animations are amazing. The sound is good. Like, it's nothing special, but I appreciate the little detail of how Wally sounds different moving around on different surfaces. The music is weird. None of it is from the movie. I'm actually really curious where it's from, because it appears in some storyboarded deleted scenes, so it was made before the movie, but was it for the game? I don't know. There's a lot of moments where the music just doesn't fit the scene, like this joyful music playing where we're shown that Wally is the last surviving robot on Earth, or this tense music playing during the flight around the Axiom. It doesn't help that a lot of the music is repeated too, which of course isn't a problem with the good tracks, but the bad ones get annoying fast. There's 25 levels in the story, but before we get into those, I'd like to introduce the 3 types of levels there are. The extremely linear obstacle course levels, or the E-locks. The I have to run towards or away from something levels, or Atrotovs, which come in both Wally and Eve flavors, and the on-rail shooter levels, or the Orals. The first level is actually really interesting. It's a prologue to the main story that takes place before the Axiom leaves Earth. You begin as a new and clean Wally called to a routine checkup, which is a really smart way of implementing a tutorial in-universe. It's quick and simple and teaches you everything you need to know about controlling Wally. One of the first things the game teaches you is creating and throwing cubes. Wally will automatically make cubes if you drive over literally any dirt texture, and you can throw those cubes to solve puzzles. Moving around actually feels alright. Like, the best comparison I could give is he feels a lot like how a modern Rockstar character controls on console. He can jump, but only about as high as me. This is really only meant to cross gaps, not get anywhere higher. You can also compact into box form, which gives him a boost of speed while moving, allowing him to break through obstacles. This level also teaches you about Wally's speed and momentum. The speedometer in the corner has 4 levels. The first 3 are just speeds you roll around at, like normally. But the 4th and fastest speed is a little bit different. The way you reach a speed is by going down a steep slope. Going this fast lets you jump farther and reach the top of half pipes scattered throughout the game. Wally also has a laser, which is recharged by picking up red canisters that come from crates or slot machines. Lining up 3 logos is obviously really easy, but as a kid, I'd have to get my dad to do this part. The last thing the level teaches you is about healing. Similarly to how he makes cubes on dirt, Wally will automatically start charging himself when under a bright light. The level ends with a short obstacle course that tests you on what you've learned. And then it plays a little cutscene of all the Wallys running home because there's a big sandstorm. And then level 2, oh my god, everyone's dead. This level is really strange. It begins by showing us, Wally rolling around doing his thing when he gets an alert of an incoming sandstorm. And if you were paying attention to, like, the last paragraph that I read, you would know that that's exactly how the last level ended. So why not just make this level the end of the last level? This level's fine. Like, it's kind of just the chase, and that's it. Level 3 starts with a cutscene where Wally meets his cockroach friend, Hal. I think it's really cool how this game's narrative so far has just added little things to the story like this. The whole point of this level is to teach you about artifacts, which are collectibles scattered throughout the levels. They're hidden in these dirt mounds that you need to scan in first person to interact with, and then you can walk up and a little cutscene of Wally playing with the artifact will play. These are pretty cute, and each artifact has its own unique animation, which is more than I expected from a fucking 2000s movie tie-in game. In this level, you explore the area around Wally's home. There's a bunch of crates everywhere to make up for the kind of laughable main objective, which is just you pick up some binoculars, and that's it. That's all you do. But a cutscene plays where you look through them, and Wally sees at the top of a building another Wally waving down at him. This obviously did not happen in the movie. We know this guy can't be real, but we're still going to spend the next 2 levels trying to reach him. To start, I think this level looks pretty good. This is the first level to like actually kind of hold up well. Level 5 is way bigger than the first few, with 3 areas to explore. To get past all these rooms, you need to collect a number of blue energy canisters that you get from breaking specific blue crates. The first room is very linear. You got some half pipes and a tornado. But the second is a really cool open area. It's a big abandoned construction site with a ton of puzzles scattered throughout, some of which lead to new puzzles and interact with other ones. This area does introduce these weird cognitive challenge puzzles as a mean to open doors. They're annoying, but there aren't a ton on Earth. On the Axiom, they pop up everywhere, which kind of weighs down the back half of the game a bit. I love the freedom to explore here, and I really wish that the rest of the game was like this. When you turn in the 50 energy canisters, the crane smashes into the side of a fucking building, and you half pipe up to the next area, which is like kind of metal as hell, I think. I don't know. I'm not sure what this room is really supposed to be. It's pretty fun to explore, and some of the canisters are actually hidden pretty well, which is like cool. It's like, whoa, this game is a little bit challenging. And then when you get all the canisters, you go up the elevator, and the level abruptly ends. Level 5 is basically just an extension of level 4. Think of the abrupt ending of the last level as a checkpoint. You continue platforming up the building until you reach this section that kind of reminds me of a Crash Bandicoot level. And for 5-year-old me, this pretty much was a Crash Bandicoot level. Like, obviously this is easy today, but I remember as a kid being so excited to make it to the end, and then being so disappointed that I put in all that work only to find a corpse. Wally checks out this old refrigerator where he finds the plant. These last 2 levels are likely an adaptation of this scene from the movie, where Wally just like farts around all day in the trash, which makes me wonder if the waving Wally was ever a part of the movie, because throughout the game there's several scenes that differ from their movie counterparts. Like, a lot of the third act of the movie got rewritten last minute, so the game developers didn't have time to change those scenes in the game. And I wonder if this side quest to find another Wally is like that and was originally in the movie, because the way the scene is now, I can totally see where they would have put this in. Like, in between this montage scene and him finding the plant, there could have been a cut that might have had this waving Wally plotline in there somewhere, but they cut it for time because it's stupid. I don't know. These 2 levels are just plain, simple, and very enjoyable. Level 6 is almost a complete copy of level 3. None of the crates are in different spots, and the map is completely unchanged. You gotta follow one of the dots from Eve's ship around the house, and that's it. This level doesn't even end with the ship landing. We'll have to wait until the next level, but first, let's talk about death. Hey, we're gonna take a quick break from talking about the levels so your bright internet brain doesn't click off. So if you remember earlier, I said that this game was scary, though I wouldn't blame you for forgetting because of the aforementioned brain fry. Anyway, when Wally dies, like we all will someday, do you guys ever think about that? I have a lot recently. So when you let Wally die, you get treated to this little cutscene for your failure. The game plays some loud as shit bass note while Wally like dies in a black void. This game put the fear of death in me early. Like, goddamn, I hope this isn't what I see when I die. I don't know, that's it, back to main stuff. Level 7 begins with a cutscene depicting a slightly altered version of Eve's introduction. Wally's way the fuck over here instead of being incinerated underneath the spacecraft. Eve flies off and Wally follows her to an abandoned shipyard. Most of this level is just following Eve through a bunch of scrap, and at the end, you need to catch her going around this ring. I didn't love this one as a kid or now. The parts where you chase Eve around are pretty fun, but the level screws with its own pacing by making you collect a bunch of energy things to open a door in this one stupid platforming part that took me 10 minutes as a 20-year-old. And Eve is kind of scary in this level. She's way more trigger happy than I remember from the movie, which makes me sad because I don't want to see Wally get shot and die. That'd be a really scary death screen. Level 8, Taking Flight, is our first Eve-flavored Atrotophs. It's about what happens between this shot and this shot. For the first time, you get to play as a new character, Eve. She can only fly forward, and for her neutral special, she wields a gun. So her levels are sort of a mix between Atrotoph and Oral. Flying as Eve gives a pretty good sense of speed, so while the level itself isn't challenging or really that interesting with its level design, it was enjoyable, which is what I've said about like everything so far. Honestly, the best comparison I can give for this entire game is that it's like a Lego game. It's for kids. The level begins with a cute cutscene where Wally shows Eve his LEGO Star Wars collection, but then she passes out when she touches grass for the first time. Wally takes her out back and goes to work, but oh my god, the spaceship is back, and now Wally has to race back and save her. This level is just the second level again, even with the same music. I mean, it's a little different. There's these things, and you go through a parking lot, which is kind of cool, but other than that, it's just copy and paste. Wally jumps 50 feet onto the rocket ship and rides it into space. In this level, the ship flies through a satellite field, I guess. Why are these satellites so far from Earth? This is the first true Oral. You gotta shoot the satellites and chunks of ice coming at you. This is what all those hours in Valorant were training for. After 3 waves, Wally climbs up to Eve's window and the ship docks on the Axiom. These last 2 levels aren't amazing, but it's not really their fault. Levels in this game are not created equal. Some scenes are just short and simple. Like, if you had to make a level about Wally running back to the ship, what else are you supposed to do? So I'll know this level and other small, kind of pointless levels aren't special. I'm not mad at their existence, and actually appreciate them as little things to shake up the gameplay a little bit, just like how I'm about to shake up the video with this. This game's got some minigames for some reason. When you select minigames, you're presented with two options, head-to-head and championship. Head-to-head has minigames where both players play at the same time, while the championship games you take turns. I'll go over the championship games first because they're more pathetic. There are 3 games here. Key Puzzle, which is just the stupid door puzzles, Eve's Speedways, which are just the Eve levels, and Motor Coaster, which are just the Wally Atratophs. You take turns to see who can do the thing the fastest. They're not really fun with friends, and speaking of that, let's move on to the head-to-head minigames. Starting with Spaceship Shootout, this is just a multiplayer oral. Whoever shoots the most amount of things wins. Whatever, it's not worth your time. Heavy Traffic is multiplayer Frogger that's only a best of 3, so it's like 30 seconds, but still not worth it. Plant Collection. You and whoever you convince to play this with you roll around a unique map and collect plants. Whoever gets 30 or has the most by the end wins. You can also attack your opponent to steal their plants. I want to see an esport made out of this. Wally's Race. Take a wild fucking guess. There are 2 laps and 1 map, still better than the 2D Mario Kart games. High Speed Flight, literally the same thing but with Eve. Like, these last 3 are a little fun with friends, but the first 2 are worthless. And TLDR for this whole segment, don't buy this game for the multiplayer experience. Back to the main game. Level 11 is really goddamn long. After the probes are cleaned and Eve is scanned, you gotta chase her and avoid these instant death panels. Why do these exist? Who put them here, and what purpose do they serve? Once you get to the end of this area, you have to play a little memory game, which were on some doors before, but now they're on pretty much every door. The second area is similar to the first, but with some light, and I mean light, puzzle solving. And then the third part is just genuinely infuriating. You can't touch the ground or you'll be arrested by Samsung smart refrigerators, so you have to ride on top of other robots to follow Eve. The game was not designed for this type of gameplay. The real problem are these platforms. They're not flat, they're made up of a bunch of different shapes, which can make moving and boxing awkward and dangerous. There's also the problem of Wally's box charge. If you're holding a direction at all, he'll just zoom off the platform, and also, about these platforms, they are really slow. Sometimes when you need to hop from robot to robot, it's really unclear which one you're supposed to go to. And if you're wrong, instant incarceration. Not to mention, there's no checkpoints for this part, so if you fail, you have to start the whole thing over again. Once you finally get out of hell, the level goes back to being just an Atratophs, but this time with a lot more half pipes. How does anyone use this hallway? Once you hop onto Eve's transport bed thing, the police get suspicious and start chasing you. This kind of annoys me because at this point in the movie, they don't care about Wally at all yet, but like whatever, who gives a shit. This level is another oral, where you just kill all the police. Like a cab, but Jesus Christ, Wally. Next. Level 13 starts with a scene in the captain's quarters. Oh no, no plant, to the psych ward you go. On the way to the repair ward, Wally falls off the thing and has to find 100 blue things to open the door. The main room has a bunch of doors that lead into other rooms with puzzles you need to use the reject robots for. There's an umbrella that you use to bounce across gaps, this defibrillator that opens doors, the vacuum that gives you cubes, this massage bot that breaks stuff, and this flashlight that does exactly what you'd think it'd do. When I played this as a kid with my dad, he told me that the flashlight was useless and that I shouldn't bother, so I always just had to find my way in the darkness. And I don't know why he said this, because it works fine. It's very helpful. Maybe it was a problem with his old computer, I don't know. Once you've completed all the puzzles and collected all the energy charges, you move right on to... Wally finds Eve in the repair ward but gets locked out. In order to open the door, you need to collect 2 key cards that the stewards took away. Now, before anything else, if you ever plan to 100% this godforsaken game, don't forget to break these crates at the beginning. Otherwise, you'll have to replay the entire level to get 100%. The first key card is in this circular room, and you gotta go through all these doors to activate the 2 different layers of the floor. And this is where we meet Mo as an enemy. He'll follow you around and forcefully bathe you, draining your HP because, as we all know, a gamer's stench is the source of his power. To combat him, you can box charge him, knocking him away and stunning him for a bit, or killing him if you knock him into a pit. Once you unlock floor privileges, the police will have you surrounded. You're gonna have to fight your way out of this one, so it's a good thing that the box charge is completely invincible and kills them in one hit. Combat in this game is not very interesting. You grab the key and go through this door, and this is about how far I got as a kid. There's a big divider in the middle of the room, and the only way to get to the other side is through the vents, but it's pitch black in there, so you need to use the flashlight to get through. But I still believe my dad when he said that the flashlight was useless, and unlike the last flashlight puzzle where you could eventually get through it with enough trial and error, there are enemies in the vent that are only repelled by light, so if you try to go in blind, you'll get shocked to death by rats. So this is where the story ends for my preschooler self. The rest of the game is all new frontiers for me, and the rest of the level is even more linear than the first half. In this, it's just mostly rooms full of stewards that you have to murder. Once he gets the second key card, Wally reunites with Eve, frees the other robots, and has his first robo-kiss, which is a major departure from the movie's plot where Eve is really pissed off at Wally here. As they leave the repair ward, Eve kills 2 stewards and Wally smashes in one of their dead faces, which is just really out of character. So I'm not sure, but I think this level's trying to be a stealth mission. You've got to go through a bunch of rooms where there's these droids that sense your movement and call the cops if you're detected. But the only way to open the door at the end is just to kill them all anyway. Once you get through the area, you've got to do this weird Frogger segment to get to the next room where you have to fight a gang of stewards. There's not really much to talk about for the rest of the level. It's kind of just a normal E-lock, except like it's so linear, it's literally in a straight line. I really don't like this level. The environments are boring, which is kind of an issue I have with all the Axiom levels. Every level here feels very claustrophobic, which, yeah, we're on a spaceship, but the other version of the game doesn't really have this problem. Levels take place in more open parts of the ship, and even the hallways are bigger. I feel like that version feels a lot more like the Axiom from the movie, where the PC version kind of doesn't. I can't put my finger on what's wrong. It just looks like off. It's a little too blue, I guess. I don't know. Hey, it's cheat code time! Like a lot of games before the 2010s, Wally features some cheat codes, and we're just gonna go straight down the list. Intergalactic. Eve leaves a trail of stars behind her. Soap bubbles. Wally makes bubbles when he moves. Rat jukebox. Wally plays music from the Ratatouille game when you press the music button. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, he can just play music. I didn't say that earlier. Incredi jukebox. Same thing, but with Incredibles game music. Backpack. Instead of his cooler, Wally wears a Toy Story alien head as a backpack. Skateboarder. Wally does a special animation on half pipes. Heavy weapon. Wally always has fully charged lasers. Bot of war. Destroys enemies when you get near them. Stealth armor. Enemies don't detect you. Rainbow laser. Guess. Explosive world. All the cubes explode on impact. Glow in the dark. This would have been helpful 15 years ago. Bot of mystery. Wally wears ski goggles. Golden tracks. Bling. Wally and Eve make it to the escape pods, and the scene that follows actually plays out pretty similar to the movie. Gopher tries to send the plant into space, but before Wally can get out of the pod, it's shot away from the ship. This level is another oral, where you have to use the pod's cannons to destroy asteroids before they hit you. All of these levels are the same. Like, this isn't any different than any of the other ones before. Some big asteroid appears and Wally pussies out. Alright, for this next level, we've got an Eve-flavored Atrotophs, and it's probably the worst one. You gotta catch up to Wally, but there's almost no obstacles to avoid. You just kind of fly forward the whole level. The ending cutscene isn't even that good. This is arguably the best part of the movie, but here it's just boring with extremely out-of-place music. I did like this little cameo from John, though. They didn't set him up earlier in the game like they do in the movie. He just shows up and says this.
Goodness gracious!
The opening cutscene is a cut scene from the movie. Originally, the scene where Wally gives Eve the plant and they kiss was after the defined dancing scene and took place in this closet. But it was changed last minute because it just works better for the story to have it out in space after the pod scene. However, the original scene is still in the game because they didn't have time to change it, and that's the most interesting part about this level. It's another on-rail shooter, but instead of having multiple targets to fend off, it is just Gopher, just the one guy. This is a worthless level. The opening cutscene of this level is another deleted scene, which, by the way, the rest of the game from this point on is going to be like very different from the movie. In the original cut of the movie, Eve gets zapped by Otto instead of Wally, and while the deleted scene for the last level and the next level have been released, to my knowledge, this is the only officially released version of this scene, other than the slightly different version from the other version of the game. Take a shot every time I just said version. It wouldn't be that bad. It's like 3 times. So Eve gets thrown down the trash chute, and Wally chases after her. It's another Atrotophs, but it's a Wally one, and those aren't as bad as the Eve ones. It's interesting that they chose to make this a level because it's just a straight shoot in the movie. It makes me wonder if this game had like a level requirement, because the last few have just been short nothing burgers. Wally has a surprisingly active speedrunning community, with 8 active members right now, and new runs as soon as yesterday. Even with over 7 years of runs, the game's only ever seen a handful of world record holders, because who the fuck cares about running this game? Nobody, until Tantustar on March 5th, 2016 became the first person to submit a run on speedrun.com, with a time of 3 hours, 24 minutes, and 27 seconds. The run was essentially a casual run, with no real skips, but it stayed on top for a while because of how irrelevant the game was. It'd first be beaten on February 21st, 2017, by Mr. Steak, who brought down the record by nearly 48 minutes. Still, the run of 2 hours, 26 minutes, and 29 seconds wasn't earth-shattering, as again it was mostly just a casual run. We'd have to wait another 11 months for our next world record, set by TYD, who lowered it to 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 43 seconds. TYD is acknowledged to be the first competitive runner of the game, taking it down over 5 minutes after 3 records worth of runs. By this point, a Discord had been created, letting others rise the ranks to achieve world records, like Jahglypuff, who set 2 records on the same day, October 26th, 2018. TYD quickly reclaimed their title 2 days later, and then 7 days later with a time of 1 hour, 48 minutes, and 5 seconds. 16 days later, a runner named Tada took the first place spot, lowering the world record by 49 seconds. TYD would soon reclaim the record for the last time, because only 3 months later, Tada's current reign began, where he achieved 11 consecutive world records over the course of a year. And that's where the story ends. It's been over 3 years since Tada set the current world record of 1 hour, 36 minutes, and 40 seconds, unless you want to count the speed glitch. If you leave the game on for long enough, like days long enough, it'll speed up for some reason. The cause isn't exactly known, as it only occurs in the PC release of the game and the results aren't consistent. So the speed glitch got its own category, with only one run on speedrun.com by Robotic Rocketeer, coming in at 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 32 seconds. Technically the fastest anyone's ever beaten the game. Will I ever run this game? Maybe. I've got my hands full with something more important. Okay, same deal as the last one. This whole level is a deleted scene because Wally and Eve's roles are swapped. So after saving your girl from blasting out into the infinite void of space, you gotta scramble around the dump looking for parts to fix her. And if I'm being honest, this is kinda where the game completely lost me. This level is long, for no reason. The scene in the movie is like 5 minutes, and the deleted scene that this level's based on is even shorter. There is no reason for this level to take more than 20 minutes. The level's a slog, and it's all the more frustrating because this isn't what happened in the movie. This is a worse version of that story. I know that's not the devs' fault, but it's still a problem. What is their fault is the level design. Just like every level since their introduction, there's puzzles with each of the defective robots. But I feel like these are the most tedious. For example, in this area, you have to use magnetic cubes to slide this big cube to different doors, and then bounce on the umbrella to get to them. This puzzle is just annoying and time-consuming. The massage droid breaks these blocks, and that's it. The flashlight lights up a maze, which is kind of redundant. It's a maze. The whole point is that you can't really see where you're going. And I don't even remember what the defibrillator did in this level, because all it can do is open fucking doors. This level's just not fun. Collecting parts is not about exploration like it was in level 4. And I think this level could have been so easily improved if instead of having a bunch of tiny objectives along the way, there was one big one at the end of the path. The level would barely change at all, but it might feel like less of a chore with an end in sight. Anyway, Wally doesn't even use any of the parts that he picked up when fixing Eve, and then the cutscene ends rather abruptly. It's kind of weird that they cut it up like this. It's clear that this is the same cutscene that they chopped in half. Anyway, they fly out of the dumpster, the captain and Otto start getting it on, and OG, another Frogger segment. Once you're done with that, you're tasked with turning off some fountains so you can reach the Lido deck. Have you ever thought about how it's kind of weird that the only way for the Axiom to go home is by putting a plant in some big thing that comes out of the ground next to the pool? Whatever, this level feels very dull. You explore the area around the pool, but it's all bleh. The theming in the interior sections is almost non-existent aside from these towel racks. It just feels like everywhere else on the Axiom. And outside is pretty low poly, so it's like kind of ugly. Once you lower both sets of fountains, you platform over to various islands to fight Stubards, which of course isn't fun because the combat is worse than my depression. Otto flicks the captain's fat ass off him and the whole ship turns sideways. Why does this affect the gravity of the ship? I've always had this problem with this scene. Wally sees the holo detector closing and has to make a mad dash over there, and after about 30 seconds, the level's over. There's just like not a lot to this one. There's not even a timer. Wally jumps over and into the holo detector and gets crushed because he really thought that he was him. And while this is happening, the captain sneaks up behind Otto and turns him off.
That was easy.
Eve flies over to the holo detector, sees that Wally's dead as fuck, and puts the plant in the thing, sending everybody home. As soon as the Axiom lands, Eve rushes to Wally's house and kills Hal the cockroach. What the fuck, Eve? This last main story level is another Itrotopes, where you have to get Wally home before... I actually don't know what the urgency is. Why is there a timer? He's already dead. This is probably my favorite Eve level. Most of the level is in valleys underground and other tight spaces, which feels really cool to fly around in. Eve repairs Wally's solar panels because that was the only thing wrong with him, and Wally wakes up as an NPC. Eve restores his memory, you've seen the movie, you know, and then the credits roll. But that's not where the story ends, because we get an epilogue level. It starts with a cutscene of the humans leaving the Axiom, and the captain is wearing the boot the plant was in, which is very weird. The captain throughout this whole game is kind of strange and off. I mean, I guess it makes sense because like everyone else is. He's more incompetent than he was in the movie, which is like saying something. He cares less about Wally and Eve. He doesn't even call them by their names and doesn't use their pronouns, just calling them like its. So yeah, boohoo, Captain Weird and Different. In this level, you fly around to a bunch of other levels to complete silly little tasks, of which there are 2 varieties. If you talk to the captain, he'll tell you about how Gopher stole the plant and you have to go get it back, which is odd because like why does he care? Everyone's on Earth already. He's just like straight up trying to kill the humans. If you go talk to the robots, they'll tell you that the stewards have captured one of the defective robots and you need to go save them. But like again, why? This is just bullying. The game makes the Axiom robots out to be like straight up evil, while in the movie they're really just doing their jobs. And also like what Otto tells them. And even then, he's just following orders himself. Like I understand that for the game they need these characters to be more villainous so you have enemies to fight, but it's just like another slightly off thing about the game. These little missions are fine. It's cool to see all these locations in the game again because the level adds grass and other plants to make them look better. We also get to explore the hangar of the Axiom, which is pretty cool because before it was just a part of an Atrotopes. Most of these areas aren't as fun to explore as the first time because of the enemies, but there's still a cute little bonus that I didn't expect. They put effort into this level and I really appreciate it. At the end there's this cute cutscene of Wally planting the plant, everyone gathers around, and like wow, what a nice ending. Why does this exist? When the last cutscene ended with a the end, I assumed it was was the end. This is a quick little Eve-flavored Itrotopes where you fly around the Axiom. It has no place in the story and ends quite abruptly. Whatever, this is clearly just another bonus level. They probably made this map for something else, but didn't end up using it and didn't want it to go to waste. So whatever, it's cool, I guess. I like this little message at the beginning. It's cute to think that someone wrote this, but that's it. All 25 levels in Wally the video game. I feel like I'm not the best person to judge this game, which is what I'm sure you all wanted to hear after sitting through 24 minutes and 17 seconds of just that. But I noticed while writing this that I kind of don't like this game after what I played as a kid. Like, I still really like the early levels, but I think the game's quality kind of takes a bit of a dive when we get to the Axiom. I'd like to think that it's not just nostalgia preserving the first half of the game for me, but I can't really make that call. But also, like, the game does do some dumb shit in that second half. The puzzles are more tedious, the enemies are worthless, but there's like a ton of them. They made an oral with one fucking target and like Frogger. So it's difficult for me to summarize my thoughts on this game as a whole. I don't know if I can really call it good, but there's enough good in it that I can't really call it bad. Either way, I still like this game, and as a Wally game, it gets the job done. If you want more Wally content because we're never gonna get anything else in the WCU, this is good, and I recommend this game to you. But if you are like anyone else, without nostalgia for it or an absolute love for Wally, this game's probably not gonna do that much for you. Now, before I wrap this up, I want to go over a bunch of little things that didn't deserve their own segments. In the first level, Wally's arm has some collision problems when he's in box form. There's a cutscene showing Otto stealing Eve's plant. Because stewards turn into trash when you kill them, you can use stewards to kill stewards. Wally has like a bunch of little victory animations on level 14 that are just like kind of weird. It's like, where are these from? why would there so much effort put into these? You can watch the Axiom take off in the first level. There's a couple of bonus levels, one on Earth and one on the Axiom. They're kind of just a little thing to like roll around in. You have some time trial based things, but like you just roll around in them. They're little playgrounds. I think they're even called playgrounds. At the end of each level, you get points based on how much like you completed it. And you can use those points to buy extra things like screenshots and concept art. There's an ad for this game at the end of the credits of the movie. And that's it. There's nothing else to talk about. Thanks for watching this whole thing if you're still here. Endings are hard. Bye.
Goodness gracious!